Shanahan's 44 years old.
How old?
44 years old.
Dave Johnson says you're the oldest 40-year-old on the planet.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. 44 years old. For some reason, he is the author of a 28-3 loss.
Yeah, I don't get it.
They went 11-5. They won the NFC South that year. He was the assistant coach of the year. And he gets labeled for being too aggressive in a game where he's the OC. And I feel like that is the start of a negative perception of him in these big games.
So, one day.
It's absurd.
You know what? In the offseason, you know what we're going to do? We'll do a video series on that Super Bowl 28-3.
I'm down with that.
And I'm going to break down every play call that people misremember in that Super Bowl. Because I remember everything in that Super Bowl. Everything. Everything that happened. Tevin Coleman getting hurt. Alex Mack playing with a broken leg. Their right guard got hurt on the final possession. Holding call that nullified the Mohamed Sanu catch that would have got them right back in the field goal range. Everything that happened. But because everybody keeps telling me 28-3, he didn't run the ball. When they didn't run the ball, they had a 2nd and 2. Next play, they get called for a holding. Then Matt Ryan gets sacked. But then on the flip side, it's Tom Brady on the other side. So you want Shanahan to get conservative with Tom Brady on the other sideline? Doesn't make sense to me. But I've done this exercise many, many times.
Okay, well,
about the 28-3 Super Bowl, and it disgusts me. You know how hard I've been on Shanahan. Mm-hmm. I've been very critical of Shanahan, especially the first 5 years of his career with the handling of the quarterbacks. Whether it's Jimmy or whatever, just pick your guy, dude. Just get your quarterback so we can move on, and let's play football. Stop complaining about Jimmy. Move off him. But anyway, that Super Bowl, I got Kyle's back. That's on Dan Quinn, not Kyle.
So 2019, February of 2020. I think it was February 2nd. Niners have a 10-point lead at a second half on Kansas City, and they crumble. And it's not just Kyle. To me, the entire team crumbled. The defense crumbled. The quarterback crumbled. The offensive line crumbled. Yes, the coach has a million different, things that I thought he got away from, whether it's the jet sweeps, whether it's not running the ball with Mostert earlier in that game, who was coming off one of the most historic NFC Championship games ever. That one, I think, yes, he deserves criticism for. Not sole criticism, but I get it. He's the head guy. He's the play caller. I get it. That's his hand-selected quarterback. That offseason, Seth Wickersham says, that offseason in 2020, they have a chance to go get Brady. Seth Wickersham says in this article, he thought he could win a Super Bowl with Nick Mullins. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. He was telling people, this is Shanahan, telling people inside the building who are coaches, we can win with Nick Mullins.
That's a gift and a curse because I believe that was Shanahan. He believes his system could produce anything, produce greatness with anybody.
The confidence in
confidence, which I'm not mad at the confidence.
Okay.
But at the same time, you need some talent, right? And the fact that he didn't think he could win with Nick, I believe that he believed he could win with Nick Mullins. And then the Sunday night Philadelphia game happened, and Nick Mullins is benched in the fourth quarter.
What was at the beginning of 2019? What was the article? Who wrote the article about?
Michael Silver, I believe.
And what
Michael Silver, he said that sources inside the 49ers organization said if Jimmy Garoppolo starts off slow, they could turn to Nick Mullins fairly quickly.
And a year later, he's saying that he thinks he can win it all with Nick Mullins.
Which is crazy.
And then 2020 is a disaster, and he flips over the Nick Mullins card, and how'd that look?
Didn't look good.
And what did they end up doing that offseason?
Maybe because Mullins had a decent deep ball. Well, they drafted Trey Lance. You know what I thought was interesting, real quick before you keep cooking, was when Seth Wickersham, he was just discussing the Shanahan offense and how half the league runs some variation of the Shanahan offense. And people were trying to pick the brain of John Lynch at the Senior Bowl. I'm basically like, what is it about this offense? What do you guys do so well? What's the big secret about it? They're not giving up any secrets, of course. And they talk about the power, the physicality that the Niners play with between the tackles. They love to run the ball. They always talk about running the ball 30 times a game. If we get to the 30 number with the rushes, that means we're winning the game. Mm-hmm. I feel good about where we're at during the game. And then you think about the spacing, all the spacing that he creates, all the illusions and the window dressing that creates the space in the middle of the field and outside the numbers. And then they brought up math. I think analytics are a big part of Shanahan's process. I'm not saying all of it. I'm not saying to the level of Daryl Morey with the Philadelphia 76ers, but I do think math is an equation because they always talk about the end of the first half. We want to have the ball at the end of the first half, and we want to double up. We want to control the clock. We want to make sure we maximize possessions, but having the ball at the end of the first half, we feel good about. So that's an underrated aspect of Shanahan's offense, I think. Not only the physicality and all the spacing stuff, but they do rely on analytics with their offense and their scheme.
You know, as you peel it back and you talk about Mike Shanahan's entire philosophy of the run game, he liked to get to the outside zone because that's where the numbers were, where he could have more blockers than there were defenders. And you pull those guys away from the middle of the field to honor those areas, which opens it up for the passing game. So in your mind, like you call it math, I call it spacing. Angles, you know, very much like when we play pool billiards.
Algebra.
Yeah, right. So no, I think you're on point with this. There's no doubt about it. I mean, but B, he's been wildly successful, and he has had some failures. You know, I mean, 2021, they win 7 of their last 9. They're a wild card game. They back in, or not back in. They win against LA on the final game of the year. They upset the Cowboys, upset the Packers. Then they're up 10 against the Rams against McVay. And McVay has the thing that Kyle doesn't have. That's the separator between the two of them.
The quarterback.
Quarterback and the Super Bowl.
And the Super Bowl. The quarterback and the Super Bowl.
Had I put Stafford on the Niners
that
and
year?
Jimmy on the Rams, is that too simplistic to say the roles are reversed?
I don't even think McVay settles for Jimmy. You know what I'm saying?
That's yeah.
At that point,
you're probably not wrong.
It was obvious that year that Shanahan was... There's friction. At some point, and maybe it happens if they win the Super Bowl on Sunday. At some point, we're going to get a resolution or some details about the relationship, the inner workings of the relationship between Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan. Because somewhere along the way, it soured. I don't know if it was after the ACL injury. I don't know if it was before the ACL injury. Because everything was kumbaya those first. When we came in, we were like, oh, my God. That's when this station turned into a Niner station.
Is it ever just one thing in a relationship, though?
No, it's a totality of things.
Exactly.
Things add up.
Now,
I don't know if it was the offseason, Jimmy Garoppolo go and ghost on people. That's not a good thing.
No.
I don't like hearing that about my quarterback.
No.
Right?
I'm with you.
So, but something happened along the way to where Kyle was just done with Jimmy. He was done with him.
Well, if you're someone like Kyle, as the Wickersham article, alludes to, this guy pores over film. He is a film junkie. And I'm sure there are things on the film that Jimmy left out there, because anybody who watches back the Niner games during that time, if you're just a casual, you don't have to be Baldy, you don't have to be John Madden. You watch back, you're like, oh my God, they're leaving points on the board here. Now imagine being Kyle, the guy that's creating the plays, and you're having to pour over your film over and over and over and over again, and you're seeing mistakes all over the place. That would drive someone mad.
Now, this article with Shanahan talks about his creative process. And Seth Wickersham said it could be dark and volatile. His former assistants have trauma bonded over having to endure it. Even if he does make them leave the office on Friday afternoons, unlike many coaches, so they can spend time with family. One leaves for a better job elsewhere, another steps up, eager to learn, eager for the career opportunity, waiting on the other side. If you work for Shanahan, you accept and consent that there's a discrepancy in stature between himself and everyone else. He is, after all, not just a Shanahan in football. He's also just not an offensive coach. He's a total head coach, versed in defense and special teams. That was intentional. When Kyle decided to enter this as a profession, Mike told him 2 things. Well, more than 2, but 2 stood out. What was that? Kyle needed to work with someone other than his dad, proving himself without nepotism stigma, which is why he went to Tampa Bay with John Gruden and company. 2, he needed to know the entire game if he wanted to be a good head coach. And he needed to learn the defensive side of football, which is why he sat in defensive meetings out in Tampa Bay to learn both those things. So I think the thing that Kyle, people can scream nepotism and, he's Mike's son. Mike said, before you coach with me, you better go learn to coach elsewhere. You need to prove to me that you're able to do this, son. Hell, Mike even told him to move quarterback, change positions in high school. You're not a natural thrower to football, son.
It's always funny when we throw these nepotism things around. Mike doesn't own teams. Mike's not the one making the hires. Now, do people hire people they know and people they like? For sure. And there are influences on things like that. But that's everywhere. You know what? A lot of young kids who I've coached, you know what they say? Hey, Coach Joe, can I put you down as a reference? And I go, absolutely. Absolutely put me down as a reference. That's how everyone in America gets their jobs, because of reference. But at the end of the day, once you show up on the job, whether it's Kyle Shanahan or you're working at a grocery store or you're going to be helping a contractor out, are you good on your own accord?
Yep.
It's a meritocracy. You're either good or you're not. Kyle's clearly good.
He is good.
Now, did he get opportunities that others might not have had? Sure,
Absolutely.
I'll accept that. But he's made the most of those opportunities.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to Scooty Berry, our buddy Scooty Berry.
Yeah, love Scoot.
And his daughter's out in London, studying abroad. So I had to talk with her because she wants to get into the business.
Oh.
And I said, don't be afraid to use your last name. I know a lot of people who have a last name that is very successful.
Mm-hmm.
And they fail. They succumb to the pressure of living up to that name. Or they fail with the opportunities. Or they've just had everything. So they're just like, I don't really need to work that hard because I already have everything. I'm comfortable already. I told Scooter's daughter, I said, hey, use that name. But when you get the opportunity, show them why you earned the job.
Exactly.
Because nepotism is one thing.
Exactly.
You get your foot in the door. How many sons of broadcasters or, journalists or agents that we've worked with in this business, in radio, and we've seen their work ethic. And they get in and they fail.
For sure.
Because they don't really want it. So what you do with the opportunity, yeah, sure, you may be able to get in quicker than, say, a Joe Shasky or a Bonte Hill, but what do you do with that position? And Kyle is absolutely flourished. He's taken that, saying, look, I got an opportunity, but he worked his way up.
Yeah.
Grad assistant. I'm going to be a quality control coach. Okay, I'll be the wide receivers coach on the Houston Texans. What do you know? I'm in OC now. I'm going to go with my dad in Washington. Damn, my dad got canned in Washington. Let me go to Cleveland. Then let me go to Atlanta. Let me figure this out. So Kyle is taking advantage of his opportunities, and he's proven to be one damn good head coach.
Well, he's excellent. I would say that in life, we talk a lot about what's fair and what's not fair. When you and I both know life is not fair, and it'll never be fair. What I tell everyone, not that I have the secret sauce or anything, is life weeds out the weak. If you are weak-minded, have weak work ethic, if you are weak in terms of how you treat others, you will get weeded out in life. Mm-hmm. I truly believe in that. And I feel like as you look now and you look across the rubble, at how many moments in Andy Reid's career was he considered the weak one?
Yep.
And now look at him. I was listening to an argument about Andy Reid, and they were saying, had the rules on offense changed 10 years earlier, are we sure he wouldn't be Belichick and Belichick wouldn't be viewed differently?
I saw that.
It's a very interesting point of view.
He was ahead of the game. In a way, he's evolved.
Exactly.
He's evolved better than Belichick in his later years.
Absolutely.
In terms of offensive mindset, football, no one understanding his weaknesses in, let me get Spags in to run my defense. I understand defense, but now I can focus on offense. And think about the evolution of his offenses, going from traditional West Coast to spread game, to window dressing, to all the motions, to 5 wide, to 4 wide, jet sweeps, trick plays, you name it.
Did the Alex Smith playbook look like the Patrick Mahomes
Absolutely
playbook?
not. Not even close.
Not even close.
But he maximized Alex Smith.
No
I will say
no doubt. But that's the essence of coaching.
Yep, that is coaching.
And so I come back to Shanahan and I say to myself, like, I'm a true believer in all of these heartbreaks make it more sweet for when you actually cash it in. And I'll use my own example. My wife and I tried to have children for the longest time. Mm-hmm. And years, and a lot of heartbreak. Now I'm the happiest dad you've ever met in your life. And it's not perfect, but I've salvaged every moment. And I truly believe that, like, all of the trials and tribulations leading up to it made it that much sweeter.
Yep.
And it made me appreciate it. Think about how many kids get a car at 16 years old.
I know.
And they get one gifted to them. Yep. They don't work for it.
They don't.
And what do they 9 times out of 10 do? They wrap that car into the side somewhere. Yep. They bang it. Yet you and I, we had nothing growing up. We got a jalopy at 20-something years old, and that's our jalopy.
Yep, no doubt.
Everybody can relate to that.
Everybody can. Taking a bus, building calluses, working graveyard shifts. It helps in this business. I think a lot of people, too, we talks about Shanahan and building the warts to become a great coach. And I hope he does
war wounds,
get a coordination. War wounds, no doubt about it. I equate that to a lot of people in this business, whether it's television or radio and sports media, journalism. Did you go out there and cover high school sports on the sideline? Not everybody had to. But me personally, I'm thankful I had to because I had to take my own stats.
Yes.
Whether it was rain, cold, whatever, you take your own stats. You do your own interviews. You're on deadline. Hell, there's times, I remember my car didn't start. I'm covered in Terra Nova. No, it wasn't Terra Nova. It was Reardon, somebody. And my car wouldn't start. Toyota Camry wouldn't even start. So I was like, damn, I got 40 minutes to write this story. Wrote it on my BlackBerry. Cop ended up knocking on the door. Hey, you okay, son? Everything? Obviously, somebody snitched on me. Seen, a black guy in a little car. Turns out it was Anthony Gordon's uncle as a cop. It was his uncle. Yeah, the quarterback.
Oh, my
It was
God.
his uncle. I'll never forget. He goes, oh, you know my nephew? I was like, dude, I just covered him in tearing over. They beat SI a couple weeks ago,
I wanted
right?
the Niners to draft him.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
I
We had him
did.
on the air.
I did.
Had him on the air. But those little war wounds has helped
Absolutely.
build the calluses to where we do this stuff. And we're like, oh, this is easy because we've gone through it all. But you're thankful for all the trials and tribulations. And Shanahan seems to be, Kyle Shanahan, that is, seems to be thankful for that. He always cites starting in Washington. Like, that's why the podcast with McVay is so good. Him and McVay talking about their Washington days.
Well, you know, I think Bill Walsh has diluted what we consider success in America for Niner fans, right? Like, in football for Niner fans. He comes in and in 3 years, boom, they win a Super Bowl. John Madden is more the route for more coaches than what Bill Walsh did, which is immediate success in year 3 with a Super Bowl. John Madden knocked on how many AFC Championship games, Monte?
Oh, over and over. Kept losing them.
What was it, year 9 he won the Super Bowl?
Year 9. But listen, 4 straight AFC Championship game losses. Dolphins, Steelers. But think about this,
Was
too.
John Madden a choker?
No, he wasn't. They just lost Big K's. Also, some of the greatest teams of all time.
Exactly.
But I will say something about Bill Walsh. Although he had immediate success as a head coach,
Yes.
he didn't get that head coaching opportunity till very late
49 years old.
because
He was older.
Al Davis even told him, I don't think he got the chops to be a head coach.
Yeah.
Paul Brown in Cincinnati, he wanted to stick it to Cincinnati any chance he got because he got passed over as head coach there in Cincinnati. And he was running the offense. He was the offensive coordinator in which the West Coast offense was built. Bill Walsh had to grind to get to where that gets lost in the sauce with
you're
Bill
right.
Walsh.
What
By
was
the
the
time he
quote?
got to the Niners, think about his resume and where he coached at and who he coached with.
What was the quote? Al Davis asked him, "Are you tough enough to be a head coach?" He said, "I'm a Golden Glove boxer.
Right.
Of course I'm tough enough." And he still doubted him.
Yep. Still doubted him. So, you know.
He thought he was too cerebral for the era.
You got to go through your trials and tribulations. Hell, Andy Reid on the other side did. In Philadelphia. Got closer. Finally, he broke through it. Now, you know, he's on track to win 3-5.
I know.
We had Carrington Harrison on earlier from 6'10" in Kansas City. They've already got the parade mapped out.
It's crazy.
So if Shanahan could get this one, what does that do for him? How are people feeling about Shanahan? And think about this. All the quarterback mishaps they've had as an organization. The Trey Lance mistake. Obviously, it was a mistake. They didn't believe. I don't
It's
know why
one of the
trade
worst
up for him.
trades in NFL history.
In NFL draft history.
It's okay. It happens.
If
You find a Brock Purdy.
If you find a Brock Purdy, which they're lucky to do.
It's as if like they lifted up the rock and, oh my God, a pile of gold.
Dude, so they missed on Brock. They missed on Trey Lance. We got through the Jimmy Garoppolo saga where it's Brady, it's Cousins. We went through, think about this. I want to ask the fans this one. This is something we haven't got to this week. The Niners did pass up on Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. They even want to scout Mahomes. John Lynch was planted at Patrick Mahomes' pro day just to be a decoy because the Niners held the number 2 pick at the time. And, of course, they traded with the Bears. They dropped down to 3. Bears go up to 2. They take Trubisky. But the fact that they passed up on Mahomes, if Purdy and the Niners win on Sunday, does that make everything go away? The 2017 NFL draft? Do we just say, you know what? Yeah, we could have had Mahomes, but you know what? We got that one with Purdy.
It's a great compensation package.
It's a hell of a all-back player,
I will
right?
accept it.
We passed on Mahomes and Watson.
I mean, Bonte,
and it may not even matter.
There's going to be people that are going to be bitter no matter what, because that's kind of, negativity sells. But, yes, if they could beat Mahomes, I'll overlook it. Wouldn't you?
Absolutely. You beat Mahomes, and you should have beat Mahomes. You should have beat Mahomes a couple years ago.
I mean, we passed on Aaron Rodgers, and even though we beat him in the playoffs, I still was bitter because he had a Super Bowl, and we have yet to get one since then.
Yep.
And so, if you just get a Super Bowl, it takes all of it away. For me, I can't speak for everyone.
It does take a lot of it away. The Trey Lance pick, the Jimmy Saka. You win this Super Bowl, I don't give a damn about what happened
Is it the
beforehand.
greatest pivot, don't panic moment in the history of sports?
For the 49ers, yes. We had no choice but the pivot.
I mean,
think about the moment Jimmy Garoppolo went down in that Dolphins game.
Yeah, everyone was like, you got to be kidding me.
We were not. I don't think you went to that game. Did you? Did you go to that Dolphins game? Because I didn't attend that one.
No, I
stayed back. Maybe, Chaz, we were just chilling in the living room for a birthday.
What was I doing for that game?
I forgot what happened, but I stayed back.
I went to the Tampa game, though.
Yeah, we all went to the Tampa game, and they were chanting Purdy, and it was like, oh my gosh, we may have something here. It's like, wait a minute. Let me walk some things back on the Warner Ropes. But think about that moment when Garoppolo got hurt. And we weren't the biggest Garoppolo fans. This fan base was split when it came to Jimmy Garoppolo.
I just watched him look horrific against Kansas City.
Horrific, right?
Just a couple weeks earlier.
So,
even though he was playing good ball,
yeah.
he got peppered in that New Orleans game.
Oh my gosh, he was getting popped. But he went down to that Dolphins game. We thought the season was over.
Yeah, most people did. Yeah.
And Shanahan and company didn't panic. So I have to start believing them. I have to start believing Romanowski when he says Mike Shanahan told him that he told Brock Purdy in training camp, hey, be ready.